Hi, everyone. I'm Taylor Combeluzier, a mining analyst at Red Cloud Securities. This session of our Green Energy Conference will feature World Copper Limited. From the company, we have with us Nolan Peterson, who's the CEO. I'll note that if any attendees have questions throughout the presentation, that you can just type them into the event application, and we'll get to them at the Q&A session after the presentation. I'll also note that this presentation is available on the conference website. And with that, I'll turn it right over to Nolan to walk us through the story.
Thank you, Taylor, and thank you everyone for attending this conference, and thank you Red Cloud for hosting it. I'll just jump into it. We are World Copper Limited. We're a junior Canadian copper mining company that is looking to establish ourselves in the market to capitalize on the current copper prices and the future of copper. So in our presentation, we normally speak to the demand for copper at the start, but I'm going to assume that everybody who's attending this conference has heard this from other presenters or is well versed in it and is convinced that copper is going to be a part of the green future. So I'm just going to move straight to our projects. We have two projects in Chile. These are what we started the year with, but we have also announced a purchase or merger with a company called Cardero Resources to bring in the Zonia project, which I'll speak again later too. But these two projects are what we started World Copper with, Cristal and Escalones. Cristal is near the northern portion of Chile, near the Peruvian border. This is a potential large-scale copper porphyry deposit. It's in very early stages of exploration. We are hoping to get some drills up there in the next couple of years to see what is at this location. Escalones is our flagship asset in Chile and the one that we believe has the greatest potential for expansion in the near future. Escalones is in the Santiago region of Chile. It is 100 kilometers to the southeast of Santiago, and it's 35 kilometers to the east of El Teniente, which is the world's largest underground copper mine. So it's in a well-established area for mining, in an established jurisdiction, which is Chile for mining, and it has an established resource. I'll show you the claims block here. To date, 25,000 meters has been drilled on the Escalones package. Everything that has been drilled in that orange circle there on the claims block. We have 4 other large copper porphyry targets in the region, including one immediately to the south, which we believe has the greatest potential for expansion. In the existing claims, our existing package that has been drilled, we have over 400 million tons of copper ore and almost 4 billion pounds of copper equivalent in the ground as a resource. This is currently characterized as a copper sulphide deposit. We are in the early stages of shifting our strategy to characterize this deposit as a copper-oxide deposit, which will bring us many advantages for future development, including a greener and cleaner processing methodology. We have created some slides that go into the detail of that, but I won't address them right now. I just want to draw your attention to them for review later and for further discussion if you so choose with myself. Just to speak about the expansion potential at Escalones, everything to date you can see on the 3D map to the left there that has been drilled is shown with the drill holes that are there. To the south, we have what is called the Mancha Amarilla lithocap. That's that southern target that I mentioned to you. We believe that this Mancha Amarilla is an extension of the main resource. And you can see from this picture on the left there is the Mancha Amarilla, and in the foreground is the existing resource that's been drilled to date. We believe that it's a natural extension due to geophysical characteristics. You can see the coloration, and we want to prove that this is an expansion and an extension. And with a simple drill program within the next year, which we are planning on for later this year, we hope to double this resource in size, and predominantly hopeful that the majority of these additional tons will be oxides, which will fuel the oxide story that we are starting to create for Escalones. We also have a surface sampling program that is coming, that has completed and we are finalizing results for. So we should expect news from that in the near future. Surface sampling has the potential to add additional tons to the resource from the skarns which flank the main deposit. This would also be oxide tons, which would be very advantageous for us going forward. We also have 3 other targets to the northeast of the main Escalones deposit, which match the same geophysical characteristics of the main resource. And we believe that each of these 3 could be easily the same size or larger than the Escalones deposit as it exists right now. So there hasn't been any drill work done to date on these packages and these targets, but it's something that we are going to aim for in the near future. We believe there's a great potential for Escalones to one day be a very, very large copper oxide producing mine. So we're very hopeful for that. I want to speak now about the acquisition that we announced a couple months ago and we're in the process of completing. It's currently with the TSX Venture Exchange for their approval, which we expect to receive very shortly as well. And we will then enter into a definitive agreement. The Zonia project is in Arizona, another very attractive copper mining jurisdiction similar to Chile. So we like to operate in jurisdictions that are very stable and supportive of the mining industry and copper, and Arizona is no different. Zonia is 120 miles to the northwest of Phoenix, Arizona. It is an area with a good established infrastructure, highway access, power line access, water. And this mine was in previous operations in the 60s and 70s, so it has produced copper. There is copper there. There's no doubt about that. But at the time, the copper prices were not supportive of mining, so the company shut it down. And over the ensuing years, it's changed hands a number of times, and now it is going to be in World Copper's hands, and it's very good place for it to be. I want to show you the claims block for Zonia in the southwest. To date shows our main resource. 50,000 meters has been drilled on this resource. It is an oxide deposit near surface, similar to what we are trying to change Escalones to be. This resource sits entirely on what is called private land in Arizona, so none of it is on state or federal lands. This makes the permitting process much faster than a normal project that would require going through the US EPA or other permitting agencies in a more rigorous manner. We believe that with that advantage, this project can be in operations within 3 to 4 years from today, assuming we can fast track this project. So that, as you would know in the mining industry, is basically tomorrow. It's very, very fast. You'd be hard pressed to find an asset at this stage of development ready to move this quickly. I just want to touch briefly to the northeast of this main resource is an expansion target that has the potential to double this resource in size. That's something that we will explore as we develop the main resource. I just want to talk now about why we're so optimistic for the Zonia project. In 2018, so a little over 3 years ago, a preliminary economic assessment was carried out for Zonia. At the time, 198 million was the initial capex, and the after-tax NPV was 192 million with a 3-year payback. At closer to today's copper prices, so $4 copper, the after-tax NPV is $447 million, and the after-tax first-year free cash flow is $149 million. So we're looking at just slightly over a 1-year payback at today's copper prices. If copper prices continue to increase, as we all expect they will, then Zonia will be hitting stride at a perfect time and will be spitting off massive amounts of free cash flow that will quickly pay this asset back. So I'm very optimistic for this project. I want to get it started and moving very quickly. So once we close the transaction, that'll be our #1 priority, as well as carrying on drill work at Escalones. I just want to show some pictures before I finish off here. Of the development that has been done at Zonia in the past. In the top left is the existing heap leach pad, and at the bottom is the pit itself. It has already been pre-stripped by previous operators. Going forward is a 1-to-1 strip ratio, which helps to contribute to its low operating costs. The ore is exposed and ready to go right now. We also have a listing coming up. So on the corporate side of things, we have a listing coming up on the OTC QB in the United States. We anticipate that will grow our audience of an investor base dramatically, especially if we can market a story like the Zonia project and tie it into the green energy revolution that is sweeping the United States and the world. To be honest, we also have recently done a 3-to-1 share rollback to bring our shares to 44 million. We have over 60%, almost 60% insider and majority shareholder ownership. Over 50%, almost 50% has been locked up for a 3-year period in escrow by Wealth Minerals and Gold Springs. So we're very tightly traded and very supportive shareholders. Once we merge with Cardero Resources, who will also be doing a 4.8-to-1 rollback, we'll have about 73 million shares outstanding. We've announced a $10 million financing as part of that transaction that will fund the future exploration at Escalones, as well as the development at Zonia for the near future to take us to a construction decision. In the next year, we'll be looking to do a feasibility study and environmental permitting baselining work at Zonia. That's pretty much the World Copper story right now. I breezed through it because of the limited amount of time. Happy to take any questions, and also if there's any follow-up meetings that people want to have with myself or anyone else from my team, we are open for business and discussion and happy to speak with anyone at any time about any questions you may have. Thank you very much for listening, and yeah, ready for questions.
Great, thanks a lot, Nolan. Great presentation. So just a reminder to all viewers that you can submit your questions using the event application at any time now. So to start off, talking about Zonia a little bit, there was I'm not sure if you have a slide with the current terms. Maybe you can just provide kind of what the amended agreement looks like as of right now.
So the agreement is, there's a number of share exchanges and warrants and all that, but ultimately we will be issuing World Copper shares to Cardero shareholders in a 60-40 split of World Copper to Cardero shareholders, and that will make up the combined entity for the company. And then at that point, we will initiate our $10 million raise. So that's basically the ultimate agreement in place.
Okay, great. And then, okay, so we have a question coming in. I assume this is for Zonia. Is there any potential for higher grades? Where on the property is that potential?
So the main resource has been drilled very extensively to date. I would expect future drill work to be more supportive of engineering work for the feasibility study, so to develop the mine plan and block model. So there's always potential for higher grades to the northeast with the molybdenum target that we are going to explore in the future. But there's no immediate need for additional exploration drill work at Zonia. The project itself, at the grades that we have right now, is still very attractive, and there's always room for improvement on the recovery side of things, which I think will bear out through the feasibility study.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, and I guess with that, this is a good slide to have up. Was molybdenum ever factored into that PEA that was completed?
I don't believe so, no. This is just pure copper production.
So definitely some potential upside with that new target to the northeast. So that's great. Okay. Have another question coming in. Maybe just talk a little bit more about the plans for Cristal. I know you did briefly mention it, but kind of what does the future look like there?
Yeah, so Cristal is a smaller package to the north, as I mentioned. There hasn't been any drilling done to date on this property, on our portion of the property. There has been drilling of surrounding properties held by major players such as BHP. This deposit has the potential to be what we call the buried deposit. If you follow the Chilean mines, you can see they follow a string up basically the center of Chile, which is the West Fisher Fault. Due to geophysical characteristics, our geologists believe that there is a mine in the region of Cristal, and based on some imagery. There's a belief that the Cristal has a high potential to be a target. Now, this is, as I mentioned, would be buried, so it would be many hundreds of meters below the ground. So it'll take a different, a different strategy for us to get drills up there. So right now we are focusing on Escalones, which is our high priority, but within the next year or so, we will be putting together a detailed plan to get to Cristal. And then that will, we expect to find something there under the overburden.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I guess the ideal situation would be, have everything work out with Zonia, so you get some cash flow and can fund this from internal cash flow.
Exactly, that's definitely the point. We want to offer to investors as many aspects of a major mining company that you can have. So production, development, and exploration blue sky. So we are putting the pieces together for development. We've got the Escalones for our exploration. If we can move quickly on Zonia, we'll have production. We're also always looking for opportunities to add a producing asset to our stable as well, although those are always early stages and can't be really discussed right now.
Okay, jumping back to Zonia now, we have another question in. What will the operation cost be for Zonia in terms of price per pound of copper?
Yeah, so we have an operating cost of about $1.40 to $1.60 per pound of copper, which is quite incredible when you think about it. So that owes to the fact that there has been a lot of pre-development of this asset and the low strip ratio going forward, and it's near surface, and it's a copper-oxide project, which has lower operating costs than a sulfide project. So that's what contributes to the very large free cash flows. First year free cash flow of 150 million after taxes is very impressive. So yeah, about $1.40 to $1.50 according to the preliminary economic assessment.
Okay. And then kind of looking at the kind of time or the pathway forward with Zonia, what are kind of the main things that you need to address, I guess, with the work going forward? I guess what's the highest priority kind of work that needs to be addressed from the previous PEA?
Yeah, so the first thing you do is you would do a gap analysis on the PEA and an engineering review to see, what level of detail it was carried out. Was the mining very detailed, or does it need further drill work to support a mine plan? How advanced is the processing? Then we would start to determine if we need a pre-feasibility study or if we can go straight to a feasibility study. We look to do that over the next year or so. I'd aim to have that complete by late next year or early 2023. In conjunction with that, we would start an environmental baselining process to prepare environmental data for permitting submissions. Also, that would engineering work from the feasibility study would feed into that. You'd have to tell the permitting agencies what you're building and what it's going to look like. All things going along as well as could be expected. I'd like a construction decision to happen in early 2023. So in advance of that, we would have, with the delivery of the feasibility study, and in advance of that, we would have started to look at how we would finance the project, what our options are on that front. A 1.5 to 2 year construction timeframe, I would peg it at more at a 1.5, but who knows once we do the engineering work and see the details. But I can't see this being a very rigorous construction process. It would be very quick, and so that gives me a 2024 production date, late 2024, and I think that's very achievable and also optimistic as well.
And we are almost out of time, but I did want to ask as well as, have you or has the company put out any kind of update in terms of the timeline for the closing of this transaction?
So no, we have not. We are still waiting for TSX approval of the terms for the transaction. A lot of the details of the warrants and share transfer exchanges have to pass TSXV approval. And as you know, with COVID in Toronto, that process has been a little bit impeded, and the market's very active right now. So it's taking a little bit of time, but once that's done, we will inform the market as quickly as we can.
Okay, perfect. And with that, we are just about out of time. So thank you very much, Nolan, for presenting World Copper to us this afternoon.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time.